Coming up next on Get Caught in a Net.
Get caught in a net with a net. For your mind, body, and soul. Get caught in a net with a net. It's your intellectual radio show. Here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with a net.
You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your host, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey guys, great afternoon and welcome to another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. I'm your girl, your host, Annette Harris. This is brought to you by Get Caught in a Net Incorporated, of which I am CEO. I am also your certified positive mental health ambassador and author of that wonderfully nominated bestseller, Surviving a Silenced Heartbeat. Come on in, guys. I always tell you when you see my face around 12 noon Central Standard Time on a Wednesday, it's time for you to come on and get caught in a net. I am so excited for today's segment. I always get excited, but today is a wonderful day, and I can't wait for you to meet my guest. But before we get started, Lord, we thank you for all things. We thank you for what you have done and what you're going to do. We ask that you would get the glory out of this segment and everything we go to say and do. In Jesus' name we pray. And the opening scripture that I normally like to quote is the first part of Hosea 4:6, and it states, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee." And again, I am grateful to be here on today. I want to let you guys know there are a few ways that you can listen to us live. I am live on my Facebook page, Annette Get Caught in a Net. That is a public page. It's open. I'm also live on my Instagram channel at Get Caught in a Net, and on YouTube at Get Caught in a Net Incorporated. I do encourage you to go ahead and subscribe and click the bell so that you will know when I go live. Also, at the end of today's segment, we will upload this particular segment to Intellectual Radio's YouTube channel. So, Intellectual Radio is where Mind, Body, and Soul is housed. And so we will upload this segment for your viewing pleasure after today's session ends. So I am going to bring in my wonderful guest on today. I'm so excited to have to present him to you guys. Let's see. Make sure he's ready backstage. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready back there. I see you guys coming in. All right, I see that he says he's ready. Mr. Givens, thanks. Come on in.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you are
good.
so welcome. Yeah,
good.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Good to hear. You guys that are coming in, I want to thank you in advance. You're going to listen to on today. I'm featuring our Authors Unite to Get Caught in a Net. I actually established this particular segment on last year after the writing of my book. My book came out, and I have met so many different authors. I'm telling you, and it's just so exciting. The journey that we have been on. Mr. Givens and I met probably about a couple of months ago. We were blessed to become acquainted because we were a part of let me get this right, the Black Authors. What was it? Help me out. The picture. It was the picture for the Black authors. Come on, you know how we met.
You want me to take over the show? Okay, this is how we
No.
met. We was part of the 70 Black authors who created history based on the fact that we was the only authors to ever have taken a picture in a group setting, but also as part of the historical society. So that's how
Yes.
we met.
Yay, you did a good job. See, put you on the spot. Wonderful. All right, so that's how we met, and we the unveiling of that wonderful portrait was on this past Saturday. And I'm like Mr. Givens, as we were talking, amongst ourselves, it was such a wonderful feeling to be a part of this historic event, as he said. But then to see my brothers and my sisters,
Yeah.
they've all sat down and they've penned books, whether it's biographies, autobiographies, poetry, or talking about their journey. I don't take it for granted, and I feel very honored to be a part of it. So that particular picture is going to come out soon. We're going to post it soon. I can't wait. I can't wait. But it was just awesome to be a part of. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background of how he and I met. Now, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Mr. Givens, and I'm going to ask him to introduce himself to you. As you've been seeing on the promos that I've had, he is a soulful poet, a soulful poet. He's written 5 books, and they're all poetry. And I think I heard him say he likes to capture his life in poetry form. And that's pretty much my book. My desk right now is filled up with all these books from Mr. Gibbons. Okay. All right. So these are all the books. I don't have the 5th book yet, but these are all the books Mr. Gibbons has written, has been blessed to write. And I wanted to feature him today because we want to push each other, encourage each other, uplift each other. But I wanted to introduce him to you guys because I was impressed with Mario, and I believe I've shared this with him because this is a young man who takes his time to write down what's in his heart, what's in his mind, not only for himself but to encourage others. And you can find yourself in these books. You will be able to find yourself in these books. I picked up one of these books, I'm telling you, and I was just mesmerized because of the way he writes. He's very intentional with how he writes, and it's just such an encouragement. Okay, I said I was just going to do a little bit of talking. If someone was to ask you, Mr. Givens, who you are, tell us who Mario Givens is.
Well, I could basically say that I'm walking poetry. And the reason why I say that is because since I was a kid to where I'm at right now, my whole life was based on expression.
Okay.
And and a lot of my poetry comes from the fact that I didn't know how to express myself. So I used to always write it down on paper. So that was my only way to get it out. Even though nobody probably ever heard me or knew I was going through certain pains and trials and tribulations, I just wrote it down. So to break the summary down of who I am I'm a man from the south side of Chicago. I am an Army vet. As you can see, I work for the United States Postal Service. Um, but I come from a struggle. And many of us that come from that part of the town or any major city or my inner cities, we come from these struggles and we didn't have no way to communicate with one another. So we had to find outlets. Some people play sports. Some people did poetry. Some people probably just sold or done something. So my calling was to write it down. And so I use poetry as an expression, but it's also symbolism because a lot of poems in those books could be perceived as being something when it
Mm.
wasn't even that. Like, for
Wow.
example, I have a poem in one of the books, which is actually my first book about a butterfly. And that poem, you would think I was actually talking about a butterfly when I was actually talking about a human being in a symbol way of a butterfly. So I use poetry with symbolism, but it also comes from deep inside of me. Like you said, my poetry is intentional. And that's because 90% of the poems in those books come from a real personal place.
Mm. Okay.
They
Okay.
come from a real personal place. Like, seriously, like every one of those books came from something. And that's why when you said that when you can like dive into these poems, you can feel yourself in them because we all went through something like that, whether it's relationships, divorce, financial situations, no matter what, traumas, it's in there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Wow.
much what that is.
Okay. Well, that's a very good description of yourself. Sometimes when people ask us to define ourselves, sometimes we don't really know with the words. But you did a wonderful job because
I appreciate it.
it really explains your reasoning behind writing these books, and I don't know. I was just really impressed reading. I tell you, I really was. And you guys have to let me do this real quick before we move further. I'm going to need you guys to check out Mr. Givens, and you can actually go to his website, mariogivens.com. Is that correct?
Well, you can actually go to stand.store/Mario Givens because that link actually give you the access to my website. It gives you access to each one of the books personally. So that way you can have full access to my social media. Everything that my name is attached to is on stand.store/Mario Givens altogether.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna have to do me a favor then when you get a chance is type that into the comment section on Facebook, and then I'll copy it over because I want them to be able to connect with you and to
Yes.
purchase your books and to see what I'm talking about here when they actually read it. I believe that you guys will definitely be impressed with it. So let's move forward. Okay, so you've given us a little bit of background, and I appreciate that. Now, you've experienced so many things in your lifetime, and you even kind of talked about it when you described yourself. Let's talk about how your life itself has been influenced by your experiences.
Oh wow. Like I said earlier, like everything that I've done was always poetic. And it was so crazy because my first ever book I wanted to ever publish was called Poetic Minds. That was gonna be the name of the first book, but it didn't work that way. But I'm influenced by pain. I'm influenced by struggle. I'm influenced by traumas because that's what I've been through my whole life. And
Yeah.
my goal is to use some outlet to help others express themselves. Because a lot of times, especially as a black man, we don't tend to want to go to therapy. We don't tend to want to express how we really feel, especially to the opposite sex too, because we feel like we have to be the strong individual instead of saying, okay, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have that soft side. But also, the people that love you need to know how you really feel about certain topics and certain things that you have going on inside. Because how can we help as a village if the village don't know you going through things?
Mm,
So my goal, my main goal is to help as many people I can express themselves, whether it's through writing. I know people express themselves with drawing, saying art, paintings or whatever it can be, but express yourself. So I'm influenced on that type of journey in my life, just helping others with what I had because I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know how to communicate. All I knew was I'm mad, I'm angry. Okay, what do you do with all this energy? You go out there and fight somebody, you go out there and shoot somebody, you go out there and rob somebody, and then now you're in prison for the rest of your life or dead, and nobody understood why you felt this way. So I had to buckle down and say, okay, let me use this outlet, not only to help myself, but to help others. So that's where that pretty much came from.
that's deep. Okay, because you talk about outlets and using this as your outlet, which I think was, you say you had to buckle down. I'm sure it wasn't easy to do that,
Nah,
because and I'm sure you had other outlets that you could have gone to express yourself, but I'm grateful that you chose to write. You chose to allow others to see how you feel, which is so important and which is rare amongst our black men. I'll just
yeah,
say that. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things that I was so impressed with you. I'm like, this young man is sitting down, he's taking time out to write, as opposed to going and using other vices or whatever you could think of to express himself. So I think that's so important. And even in getting this across to others, those who come after you, those who are before you, we could all learn from this, to make sure we grab a hold of the correct things to express ourselves. So that's
exactly.
let me do this. I want to recognize some of you individuals that have come in. Thank you all so much. I do see Janice. Thank you for coming, and I appreciate you. Thanks for liking and sharing. Dr. Hill, we appreciate you, sweetheart. Thank you for coming in, and Beatrice. is here. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate you. And Tiffany is here. Tiffany, we're gonna talk about Tiffany a little bit, but thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming in. I do see you guys. There are other names here on Facebook, and I see you all on Instagram. I think that says Small Dog 1957. I think I have that right. Thank you for coming in. Uh, I see you over here on Instagram too, Tiffany. Black Rider Space. Thank you for coming in as well. You guys, and I don't think I said this. When you come in, please make sure you like, love, share, do the care button if you would not mind. Go ahead and tag individuals in on today because what you're doing, you're pushing this out and you are alerting others that we are on so that they won't miss this wonderful opportunity to meet this wonderful poet on today and to talk to him about his passion and what he's doing. So make sure you guys do that for us, those who will be watching live and who will come back later to watch it. Okay. So thank you in advance for that. Um, Talking about passion, I just mentioned that word. So I would you say that poetry is your passion?
Yes.
Okay.
I can say it's like one of the biggest phenomenons in my life, in my journey, because how I started writing poetry would shock a lot of people. Because I started writing poetry when I was in sixth grade, and it only came because I tried to impress a girl with. Don't laugh at me. This seriously, like I tried to impress a young lady with some lyrics off a New Kids on the Block album, and I liked her, so I felt like if I wrote some of these lyrics, I give it to her, she'll like me, right? So not knowing that she listened to the same song I listened to, so she knew the lyrics, and she told me, no, she told me that I had to write my own stuff. So that's when I went home. I did a little crying to my sister. My sister told me you gotta write something. So I did the roses are red, violets are blue, and we wound up going together for a month. And she broke up with me, and I've been writing ever since. Yeah, true story.
Okay, I'm sorry. I am cracking up over here. I don't know why, but that is
Why? Because
that's
of heartbreak? Because I got my heart broken, or because I started writing at an early age? Which one
because you
was it?
start because you start writing at an early age. How about I say that?
Okay, okay, yeah, it's a true story. Like no, it's a true story.
That's actually kind of cute.
Well, I got my heart broken though. Like she only liked me for a month.
So I wonder. So
Yeah.
did she break up with you and get with somebody that could really write poetry? I'm just kidding.
No, she broke up with me and got with one of my friends. Like really, we in sixth grade. It happens. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a true story. So
Well,
that's so I
shout
want
out.
everybody to know that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a shout out to whoever she is. We're gonna name her, but thank you for the inspiration because you actually set him on the right path.
Her name is Shawnee, and we actually met 20 some years later, and we talked about this actually moment. Seriously, her name is Shawnee. We went in sixth grade, and we graduated grammar school with each other, and we talked about it. We laughed it off, and that was it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So she understands. She knows what happened. Okay. I wasn't gonna say her name. I didn't know if you wanted to say her name or not,
Oh,
but
we
you can
cool. We
tell me.
cool.
Okay. All
We
right.
cool.
But that's cool. All right. That's a great story though. And that's interesting. Because 6 years old, I mean sixth grade. I'm sorry, I said six
Sixth
years old.
grade.
Sixth grade. That's young. But then you kept up with it. And that is
Yeah.
really pretty much what propelled you into where you are now. We always have to remember our past and how we got started. That helps us to go forward in our future, definitely. So that's important. Wait, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes,
Did
go ahead.
you write about any of that in your poetry? How you got started? The sixth grade, is that anywhere?
No, I never. I
You
only
say
talk
yeah.
about it when I do like interviews or no, no. I never wrote about it in none of my books, anything like that. I just talk about it because I like to let people know like where I started at. Like I
Right.
think that's important because I was a kid. Like I was a kid who wanted to express himself but didn't know how. So I had to duplicate something instead of just saying, "Hey, I like you." You know, you want to go get you want to hold hands. You know what I mean? But I didn't know how to express myself. So I felt like if I did this, maybe I can impress her. You know what I mean? So I always wanted people to know that when I do like these type of conversations, because I think that's important. Like you said, where it starts. You know what I mean? We can
Yeah.
talk about all this other stuff, but how did it get to this point? And that's where I want to at least let you know and the audience know that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing, being transparent. Let's see. I think Rashonda's on. Says my brother from another mother. All right, Rashonda. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you. And Tiffany is being wonderful. Thank you for putting this information in here to follow Mario on Instagram. She has given his link. That is where you can find Mr. Givens on Instagram. Mario.Givens. He's really hyper over there today, isn't he?
I love
And
it.
she also, I love it too. She also put in his website that we were referring to earlier. So thank you for sharing that. We will
Thank you,
continue to
Tiff.
post that throughout this interview. Now, we're not going to be on here long today, until about 1 o'clock today, guys. So make sure, let everybody know we're here. And I wanted to ask you another question. Now, typically when people write poetry, they are they consider themselves spoken word artists or just poets. Which do you consider yourself? Both
I'm just,
or the other?
no, I'm just a poet. I've done spoken word before while I was in the military. I was talking to you earlier, and I have no problems telling nobody my reasoning on why I don't do spoken word. Spoken word was something I was passionate about, but after I encountered my injury while I was serving in the military, I I couldn't really like get my thoughts out properly and articulate them because of the injury that I did suffer. So I'm just a poet. Like I'm more so just write it down. You guys read it. Y'all live in it, and hopefully you can learn from it. So that's why I'm
Okay.
at with it. But I do love spoken word. It just that's not my lane.
Okay, not for you. It used to be, but like you
Yeah,
said, things
yeah.
changed for you. Okay, all right.
Mhm.
Understood, understood. So let's talk about these creations, these beautiful creations that God has blessed you to do, to publish. You guys saw what I have up earlier. I like, kind of displaying. I'm overwhelmed with all these books from Mr. Gibbons. We have here, I believe the first one, Love Notes. Is that
That's the
correct?
first book. Yes,
The first book,
my
Love
baby.
Notes.
Yes.
And I can only imagine. Like, look, I've only written one book. This man has written 5 books. Okay, so I can only imagine how it was to have that first book in your hands. Um, Talk about the story behind this book, if you would not mind. You told me a little something when we first met. I don't know if you want to share about that or not, but the story behind this. And then, as we mentioned earlier about how Mr. Gibbons and I met with the Black authors, you were talking about how much of a great experience that was for you because of someone special in your life. So, maybe if you can kind of share a little bit about the background of Love Notes.
Well, I mean, with the love notes, me and Tiffany, who's actually on your show, Tiffany, we sat down at Starbucks and we was trying to come up with the title for the book. And I'm talking about we bouncing things off our heads. And my favorite movie of all time is Love Jones. That's my favorite movie in the world. It's a poetry book movie. It's a love story, things like that. So Tiffany was like, "Dude, every poem in this book is about love." So we like love pad, notepad. We were just coming up with everything. That she was like, "Love notes," and I was like, "That's it." And she's like, "What?" I said, "What you just said." And she was like, "What?" I said, "The love notes," and that was it. And that was basically the name. That was it. Once we got that name, everything we shut down everything else, and that was it. You know what I mean? And the backstory of that particular book is just being in love, man, and wanting love and experiencing it to the point where sometimes you didn't even know that you was that deep in love
Mm,
because you was so content and comfortable with it. So writing that piece was more so of I miss this. I cherish this. Like I need this. So the love notes is just a book of poems based on different expressions through symbolism of love. That's pretty
okay.
much all that came from. That's
Okay.
it.
All right.
That's it.
Now, talk to me about your grandmother, your late grandmother, and the relation to your writing, if you would
Okay.
not.
No. We can always talk about my grandma. My grandma is one of the most powerful person that ever came in my life, the most everything. Before my grandma passed away, she told me that she was a writer. And growing up in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and 50s, and all those different decades, she never got a chance to write because she had multiple children. And she had 10 children at the time. So she always said she had poetry. She always had these different writings that she had laying around. So my second book is called Mindful Thoughts. That book is dedicated to my grandma based off the fact that she stated that she was a writer. So my grandma passed away at the age of 93. And you're not gonna make me cry though. But she passed away at the age of 93. So I had 100 poems in that book, Mindful Thoughts, which is my second book. So I said, Tiff, we gotta go back. We gotta fix this. So I took 7 poems out. So I have 93 poems in the book as a dedication to my grandma, as well as her picture, and I wrote some things about it inside of the book because I told her I'm gonna be a writer forever for you. So because that made me feel a way that she couldn't get a chance to not only put out her talent, but to also express the things she needed to express with her talent. So I said,
Yeah.
going forward, I would be your forever writer, and that's what that it is. And also in that book, it's a poem in there that's my baby. In that book, there's a poem called "Forever Queen." I wrote that poem about my grandma, which is also on her obituary.
Oh,
So I wrote that poem for her obituary the day of the funeral. The poem was recited, and when you love somebody and that person really care about you and cherish you as well, you got to do your all for that person. And she's been my number one supporter. She always been there, and she's just the best. So I had to do what I can for her. But you're not gonna
yeah.
make me cry today. You're not gonna make me cry today. I'm just gonna be 100. I'm not gonna cry today. But when you talk about people like that, because my grandma just made 100 years old on the 5th of this month,
Right.
and to see that happen and also be in the historical society after she told me I'm the first author in this whole family. I'm the only author in my family to ever write a book, publish a book, or do anything of publishing. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in that moment. You know what I mean? So just to have that on my personal background, my personal resume, but also know that she's looking down and say, "Hey, dude, what are you doing down there? I'm doing what you told me to do," and that was to maximize my opportunities, and that's what I'm doing.
That was beautiful. You did a wonderful job talking about her.
Thank you.
And I wanted to bring that out because we have to, again, I said earlier, we have to remember our past, but we have to remember where we came from. And obviously, you were the first one to publish a book in your family, but she was a writer as well. Her
Mhm.
books or her writings just weren't published, but you have continued on with that. And that is a tremendous blessing. That is a way to honor her legacy, what was instilled. Now, quick question: if please correct me if I'm wrong. Now, had she passed before your first book was published, or after?
No, no, she passed after the first book, and that's
Oh,
how we got into the conversation piece about the second book because I was
got
already writing the second. I was almost completed with the second book, and then when she took the little turn in her health, I sat down with her and we talked. We talked. I'm talking about having conversations with a person that you would never have these conversations with. Like asking certain questions to your grandma. You like, you don't supposed to ask grandma that. Yes, you do. Because how are you supposed to know where you came from if you don't ask those questions? And if I never asked those questions, I probably would have never knew the backstory of a lot of things that I'm going through right now on my journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, wait. See, you didn't hit on something. I can't. That's a whole nother show. But you've hit on something there. Oh my God, it's so important. I remember not too long ago. It's probably been about 10 years or so. One of my cousins came up to me and they asked me. They said, "Can you give a little bit of background about our family?" It was a particular area they were asking about, and I said, "Wow, that." I said, "Sure." but that it was so important. I thought that was so key for them to do that, because you don't know where you're going sometimes unless you know where you've been, or where your family's been, or what your family's been involved in, and that can just help you, further along in your own area, your career, your life. So that's I'm so glad you were able to sit down with her, and she was able to share those things with you. um, yeah, that's beautiful, man. But you're doing a great job again in continuing on with her legacy. Let me see these comments that are up here. Tiffany is blowing my comment section up. I appreciate her. I really do. She says he's more than just a poet, a dope individual living out his purpose. Dope author, writer, and creative poet. I totally agree with you.
Thank you,
Uh,
Tiff.
I think she gonna make you cry today, huh? All right, and then she has here the love notes. She remembers that day.
We was in that Starbucks grinding.
You were grinding, huh? All right.
Yeah,
All
we was
right,
grinding.
good. Guys, please look and see. Tiffany is placing in links for you guys. You can go to Amazon. I think it's Amazon link for his books. And the latest book, Expressions 2, which I need to get a copy of. There's a link for that as well. Nicole says, dope. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. And let's see. The first and only author in this family. That's right, Tiffany. That's right. And she says, yes, that's important, because people don't celebrate being the first enough. And I totally agree. So, all right, guys, yeah, make sure that you're clicking share, you're loving it, you're liking it, you're tagging. You can go ahead and tag individuals in. If they're not able to watch it live, they can always come back and watch it later. Because this is wonderful. And I have always been of the mindset to encourage and push our Black men. That's Annette all day long, all day, every day. Okay. And that's just what I do, because you, as a Black man, you're faced with so much in society. You're faced with a lot of backlash. You're faced with a lot that is trying to come out against you, to eliminate you, to make it seem like you don't even exist. And so I'm of the mindset and the frame of mind to turn that around, man, because my
Yeah.
brother's out here doing some stuff, and you are indeed doing a great job out here. Thanks for coming in over here on Instagram as well. So let's continue on. So these books. Now, I don't know if I can. I'm gonna ask this question anyway. Do you have a favorite of one of your books?
Oh my God. The first one is my baby, right?
Uh huh.
But that third one, The Chronicles of Love and Pain, that was a personal book. It was more personal than any other book because that's when I was going through my divorce.
Okay.
That's when I was going through a lot of pain from love. That's when love
Mm.
hit me in the face and said, "What you gonna do?" You know what I mean? Like, what you gonna do? You gonna lay down and you gonna get up and replenish yourself. And because at these moments I wasn't trusting women. I wasn't feeling like women was there for me. I'm against women. Oh, y'all wrong, and things like that. So instead of like just getting down and beating down the world, I had to express myself a little bit more deeper in that book. And that's when I started realizing, like, dude, this actually can be a book to help people. Like, because Tiffany talks about it all the time. And for those who don't know, Tiffany is my business partner. We met at the post office. She the one pushed me to actually write real books and not just write on paper. And
Oh,
so she's
good.
always, yes. Tiffany was the one who pushed me to really write. And the first book and the third book, those are two books that she kind of be like, dude, you got to get some journals out with these books because everybody goes through some form of love and pain, heartbreak, and people need to hear these questions because we can help each other with these type of books and writings and stuff like that. So I would say number 3 is like the deepest one for me because I went through some deep stuff, and as a Black man, not knowing how to communicate or express myself, I had to find an outlet. Because walking around with anger and taking that energy into another relationship is not going to work. I got to heal, right? So my healing came from that book. You know what I mean? Came from that book. That was the starting point of me healing into saying, all right, what you finna do now?
Okay.
Because I was at this point, I was like, I don't want to ever be in a relationship ever again. I don't want to get married again. Forget that. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna live my life on the beach and do whatever, right? But that book helped me express a lot of the pain that I had inside of myself
Mm-hmm.
because of love and heartbreak. So that's what that. So that book is the first one gonna always be my favorite, but the third one was the most important one to me as far as because of what I went through.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. I can see that. And then, thank you for being transparent and telling us, the background of this particular book, because it's not always easy. Divorce itself is not necessarily something that has been, of course, celebrated. It sometimes has been shunned, but we can understand that sometimes it may happen, and you're not defeated because it happened. You're not a failure because it happened, but you are showing us that you can come through this, and but also being raw with us. You said you were hurting, but you decided, okay, wait a minute, now I can turn this around and try and help somebody else. And that's what we need. People have to understand too, divorce is a part of grief. You can go through that grieving process when you divorce. Any major loss in your life, because that was a loss in your life, that can be listed under grieving. I want to read your preface real quick on that book, if you don't mind. Um, and maybe your dedication. But the preface here says pretty much what you just said. This poetry book is for everyone. I don't have a specific audience because we all experience love and pain somewhere down the line of our lives. In other words, I am writing this book for people who can relate to being in love and how the feeling makes them feel so secure and happy. This is some deep stuff. I am also writing it for the people who experience pain and hurt from failed relationships due to hardships of love. My mission is to empower those who want to take another shot at love and also those who are still in love, woo-wee, to continue to build a prosperous union. And I love that. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Just again just describes what you're trying to accomplish through this book, and I believe that you will do just that. And it's just broken down, guys. You have to go Amazon, wherever. I'll look at the links that Tiffany has in the comment section. Please, you have got to purchase this man's book, because Annette, I am not just going to push and promote anything. I don't. That's just not me. But I am pushing this. I am pushing him and what he is accomplishing here, because that's deep. That took a lot, you know what I mean, for a man
I
to write about his feelings from a divorce. That takes a whole lot.
exactly because we, like I say, like especially the men that came from the inner cities, we call it the projects, we call it the ghetto, we call it the slums. Now they call it the trenches, right? We are told at an early age. I know I was told at an early age. You better not cry. You better not do this. You better not do that. If you cry, I'm gonna punch you and all these things. So why can't I express to somebody how I feel? You know what I mean? Why can't I say what my heart is trying to tell me? That's
Yeah.
why I tell it's a few people on your audience right now who I know in real life, and I tell them all the time, if I can't be real with you, then I don't want to talk about it. So if we can't have real conversations, what's the point of us talking? Because in these
Right.
conversations, it may be some stuff that make us feel away, but at least we can learn from them. Like I don't get into the all women ain't nothing, all men ain't nothing. No, I get into how can I fix myself to help the next man or the next woman. You know what I mean? Because we spend so much time trying to dog each other instead of trying to uplift each other so we can stay on this path of greatness. It's so much success stories coming out of these inner cities, but they don't know how to promote it because we keep promoting the bad things. You go on any
Mhm.
social media outlet, all you see is bad behavior, bad this, bad that, because controversy sells. I tell people all the time, you don't have to buy my book. I'm okay with that. But there's somebody on your platform that may like poetry. Just share my book. Just share the books. It doesn't hurt to do that. You know what I mean? Because somebody, it may help somebody. And the reason why I say that is because And me and you had this conversation before. Tiffany know where I'm going with this. A few other people. Like I don't have a problem telling people I have PTSD. I have anxiety, depression. I suffer from panic attacks. I had a traumatic brain injury. You know what I mean? Before I used to have that because I felt like people gonna think I'm crazy. People gonna say this. No, because it's a lot of us out here that have anxiety. The world is full of anxiety. The
Oh, yeah.
world is full of depression. The world is full of PTSD. So it's like that's how I express myself because if I don't express myself, I'm gonna fall into a dark place. And I'm no good to nobody if I'm in a dark place. So why not articulate myself, communicate with the ones who I can communicate with, and I go to therapy. What?
Hmm.
He goes to the T word? Yes, I goes to therapy because I have to set example not only for myself, but I have a 20-year-old son who needs
Yep.
to know as a young black man, it's okay to express himself. It's okay to tell mom and dad, your loved ones, how you feel. Because when my grandma did pass away, it hurt him as well because he loved on her as well. But I had to show him how to express himself without using anger. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at in life right now. My goal is to always express myself and always like be articulate with it. So you can understand where I'm coming from because we all had these moments where a person may say, "What is he talking about?" No, you know what I'm talking about because I'm gonna make it plain for you. You know what I mean? And that's what my writing is. My writing is like my favorite poet is Langston Hughes, right? And if you go back and look at Langston Hughes' poetry, he make it plain. He don't get into the everything got to rhyme, everything got to be A B C D F G. He lets you know, hey, this is what I'm writing about. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at with my writings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why the fourth book, which is Expressions, is based on me finally opening up and say,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? I got a relief on what's going on up here and in here. You know what I mean? What's in my mind and in my soul and my heart, I can let people know and don't have to worry about if they're going to judge me. Because you can try to, it's only one judgment, and that's when I leave.
That's
Right
right.
now, I'm not worried about that. You know what I mean? So that's why I met with it.
Okay. You want to preach, huh? No. But let
No.
me. No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I'm enjoying it. Because again, this is where you and I think another area that you and I connect when you talk about that mental health aspect. So thanks for sharing that because I was doing a presentation on Saturday regarding mental health, and it just let me know that it's all around us. You mentioned somebody maybe watching us or all maybe dealing with some form of a child mental health challenges or issues or whatever, and it's okay to share that because what you're doing a lot of times, you're not only helping yourself but you're helping someone else. They're realizing, okay, I see him. Oh wow, he's dealing with that too. Okay, all right, I'm not in the place all by myself. And then we're seeing now more and more of the sports entertainment stars or whatever, they're coming out, they're verbalizing it more, what they're dealing with. My hat and everything was off to Naomi Osaka, the tennis player, for saying,
Oh
look,
yeah.
I need to take a break from my mental health. She just said point blank, she didn't care what folks said, and they talked about her. But she knew what she needed to do. And what did you just say? If you don't step back and get that therapy or take that time out, you're not going to be any help to yourself or anyone else. And this is what we have to realize. And even in the segment that I was presenting on Saturday, so many of my participants, I mean, I think I probably had, well, no, all of them, either they had experienced it or their family members, and they were sharing their stories. So mental health is not, it's not scarce. It is out there. It's here. So many
Mhm.
deal with so many things. Unfortunately, people deal with it silently, and they think that, oh, I got to keep my mouth shut. I can't tell anybody this. They're going to think I'm what? Crazy, and that is so far from the truth. You can get the help that you need. And I'm so glad that you have shared with us that you do seek therapy. You do, have your therapy sessions, your counseling sessions. That's so important. I advocate it. I advocate therapy. And you all have heard me on here that
Yeah,
watch my
yeah.
body and soul with Annette. When I wrote my book, I had to stop. I had to call my therapist. Look, I need my sessions, especially while I'm writing this book, because it was just so much and it was so traumatic for me. And you know, when you get that trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, you're going to have to do something about it, or else you're going to spiral out of control. So thank
Exactly.
you, black man, for sharing that you go to therapy. You know,
No, it's okay.
that
It's okay.
erasing that stigma that you should not go, or you have to be strong, or what you said earlier, don't show them, you know, don't show them that you're crying or you're hurt. No, you know, sometimes, you know, we see our brothers or whatever, and they crying, they showing their feelings. That looks good to us. We're like, okay,
Yeah,
thank you for showing that to me, because guess what, it shows me that you are human. You are
exactly.
human.
Because I don't worry about people always ask like, do you have writer's block? Of course I have writer's block. But I don't worry about that because my focus on make sure I don't have a soul block.
uh,
And what I mean by that is I don't want to get into that dark place because once I get into that dark place, I'm no good to nobody. I'm stuck. I'm stuck and I don't know how to get out of it sometimes. So that's why I try to stay motivated, stay inspired, stay mentally stimulated. You know, and I tell people all the time, like, uh, we have to get off social media sometimes. We got to take a break. It's okay to not chime in on everything that make us feel away. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like, okay, no, I'm gonna revisit that next week. Right now ain't the time for that. You know what I mean? And we have to look at the plate that we have and say, okay, I got chicken, mashed potatoes, string beans, and some cornbread, right? We gonna eat it, right?
yeah.
Sometimes we don't finish it, we put it away. So we got to put our plate away sometimes and realize like at the end of the day, there's other things that's gonna happen. My grandma told me this, and she said, baby, you live to die. This is you at birth and this is you at death. Before your hands clap, maximize your time on earth. And that's what I do. And I may not, I'm not for everybody. And when my first book came out, Tiffany would tell you, if she can throw up the thumbs up to verify the story, like Tiffany would tell you, like my mentor told me, he said, your success is going to remind people of their failures. Everybody's not going to support you.
Yep.
And I was like, why would they not support me? I'm the party animal. I'm always at the parties. I'm always supporting everybody. It's not about that. You said you want to write a book. You wrote a book. Don't worry about everything that comes behind that. You already met your goal. Once I understood what he meant, I'm talking about talking to Tiffany like nights on the phone, like, why they ain't buying my book? I thought of it. It wasn't about that. Because guess what? Other people was buying it. I became an international author when my first book sold in the UK. I never been to the UK. Who is you over there buying my book? What's your name? And and that's when I knew that there's something for somebody.
Yep.
Just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? And that's what I kept doing. Like I got so many poems in my brain. It's when I have time to sit down and let them out.
Okay. Yep.
That's my biggest thing. Like, all right, what you finna do today? When I'm walking down the street delivering mail, I'm reciting poetry. I'm writing
Yeah.
down. A lot of those poems in that first book came from me actually walking down the street delivering mail, and I caught some inspiration. I stopped the book, the poem Butterfly. That's a butterfly was on my shoulder. But I'm walking down the street, the butterfly's on my shoulder. I walked into the hallway, the butterfly went away. I came out the hallway, it came back on my shoulder. My grandma says that's an angel. It could have been my brother, it could have been my grandpa. It was somebody that needed to touch me, to kick me in my butt and say, come on now.
Yeah.
And I wrote
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Inspiration comes from anything. You have to pay attention to the lessons.
Yeah.
And you have to be still. Why do you think we always say peace be still? Because when you
Mhm.
still, you can get the full story of what's happening for you.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
still right now, even though I'm walking and I'm moving around, I'm still in my mind, body, and soul. So
With a net.
that's it.
With a net. I'm just kidding.
With
Okay.
a net. Getting caught in with that.
Get caught in the net. Okay, let me stop. That's good. That's really, really deep. Now, let me ask you guys that are watching, do you see why I was encouraging you to make sure that you watch on today? Because this man has some deep things. He's dropping some nuggets, okay, that we can all understand and relate to. Um, you mentioned something about, with your first book and not selling like you thought it would. Someone told me, actually, a few people told me, my publisher was one of them. Your book is not going to be for everybody, but it's going to be for somebody. And when you look at it in that sense and not worry about the sales or whatever, or not going the way you thought it would, somebody's being blessed. You just mentioned about this, somebody in UK bought your book, you became an international seller. So somebody is being blessed. It's for somebody, and somebody is being blessed by this. Now let me do this real quick. I know we are about to wrap up our time. I want to go ahead and read some of these comments here. I see them. I see Nicole says, I love them all, talking about your books, and definitely see the transition in words in every book. Wonderful author. In the process of finishing up the last book, expression. Oh, well, you go ahead, Nicole. Nicole, will you go forward now? That means I need to get my book, my fifth book. All right.
I got you.
Let's see. Okay. All right. Y'all heard that, right? All right, so let's see here. I'm going down as you were talking. Tiffany said transparent moment. Writing is therapy. Totally agree. Mental health is so important. I agree with that. A soul block. Yeah, Tiffany. Yeah, I had to go. I was stuck back there for a minute. Soul block. That was deep. That was deep. Your biggest supporters, Tiffany says, are the people you never met. Mm. I had to learn that too, Tiffany. That is so true. That is
Yeah,
so true.
definitely.
Brandy, thanks for coming in. She says here, that's a hard lesson to learn. Everyone won't celebrate your success. Celebrate your own work and those who do. I always say, if you don't do it, who gonna do it, right? Yes, love it. Definitely life lessons. Totally agree. Totally agree. Oh man, this is tremendous today. I am so excited that we finally got you on. We were trying for a while to
I know, right? I know, right?
schedules, Mr. Gibbons and I, and we actually booked this probably about a couple of months ago. It's like, okay, September, lock it in, lock it in.
Yeah.
So so I'm so grateful that we were able to do this on today. So real quick, can you do me a favor and talk about if you ever doubted yourself when writing these books?
Always, of
Okay.
course.
What did you
Like
do
I
to handle that?
prayed first, was patient with the prayer, but
Okay.
also got with the people that supported me throughout this whole journey. I'm talking about like from the beginning to the middle and to where we are right now. I got with those people and say, hey, like, I don't want to do this no more. Tiffany can tell you right now, I told her I was never writing another book ever. And she was like, yeah, okay. I told her I was done after the fourth book because COVID put a lot of us in mental places that we thought we would never be. And
Yes.
I had the books signed and ready. I had 250 books I had printed out for the book signing. I had the venue for it, and COVID said, "Nope, not today." And I was like, "I'm done." Like I was so discouraged. I was so like, "Look," she said she remember, and I kept telling her, I was like, "I don't want to write no more. I'm done." And she said, "No, no." And I got with my other friend, and he told me, "You got a lifetime, man. Take your time." You know what I mean? And once I understood what everybody was trying to tell me, and I put it all in this big old pot, and I cooked that joker, and I said, "All right, I got to come with the fifth book," because the fifth book supposed to came out last year, but I was going through a lot of mental health issues. It was just a lot going on. You know what I mean? Like I said, COVID. I don't know if I can't speak for the world, but I know I went through some things, and and I had the mask on, so people like, "Oh, he looks happy." Just because I'm smiling don't mean I'm happy. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I had to get through the day. You know what I mean? So once I got through the day and I realized, dude, keep going. Because grandma said what? This is you at birth, this is you at death. You got to maximize your time. And that's a lesson that I'm gonna take forever. Because if it wasn't for that speech and that pep talk, maybe I would never been pushing myself to go further.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I firmly believe that. I know that that was your push. especially
Yeah.
how much you loved her. And so I'm sure you understood and respected her words. So yeah, I
Oh
would
yeah.
totally agree with that.
She'd give me a
Well,
whooping if I didn't. So and I don't want a whooping. So I had to take those lessons and learn from them.
well, good. I'm glad you listened. And I'm glad you put that fear in you. All right. Tiffany says exactly. People are always saying they are selling to the masses and you are not. Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. Okay, so we are going to end this segment with my last question to you. Can you give us some final words to encourage those that are listening, that will listen, about their life or whatever you want to encourage them with?
Don't be afraid to live. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Understand that everybody's not for you. And most importantly, like, just be honest with yourself. Because once you're honest with yourself, you can be honest with anybody else. And I feel like at the end of the day, like even with my writings, like if I wasn't being honest with myself, I wouldn't have gave you that. I would just gave you just some easy to write about and say, all right, I'm an author. Yeah, everybody, look, see, no, it's not about that. It's about you have to pay attention to your journey, and you got to know that everybody can't go on that journey with you. You can't bring people with you. You got to organically let people come with you. You know what I mean? Like, and I opened my spirit because that's how I met you. That's how I met a few other people. That's how I understood the people in the UK, Canada. My books is in China, India, and people be like emailing you and saying certain things, or Instagram, or when I was on Facebook saying thank you, and I'm like, who is this person? So take the I'm trying to get the right word out of it. Take being afraid out of your spirit. Don't be afraid to fail, because people scared of the what's that? I don't want to take an L. Why you don't want to take a learning moment?
Right.
A L don't have to be a loss. It can be a learning moment. I'd rather take a learning moment, so that can help me go further. I'm not afraid no more. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to succeed. I'm not afraid of nothing. Let's just do it. If it's meant for me to do it, it's going to happen. And I just feel like people just need to learn themselves, and it's okay to tell people, hey, today ain't the day. Next week may not be the day. I need time for me to keep learning me, because this is all I got is me. And I'm no good to nobody if I
Yeah.
don't have me. So the number one thing is learn yourself. Always, always find some type of spirituality in you. Like I'm not promoting religions. I'm a Muslim man. I ain't afraid to say that. But at the same
Mhm.
time, we still have to be transparent about our journey and understand that we all not gonna be millionaires. We all not gonna have the best car in the world. We're not gonna we got to be who we are and be okay with that. And I'm okay with who I am. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is with me. Like if I can't be real with me, then I can't be real with you.
Okay. Love it. Now that was very encouraging. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I do my SASH talk discussions every day. You just said something, and I'm gonna do a SASH talk discussion on today. Take the L. I'm gonna tell you. We gonna.
I got
I'm
one
gonna
more
put.
thing before we go. I
What's
got one more
that?
thing before we go. I'm gonna recite a poem for y'all.
Okay,
You sure you want me? This gonna be deep.
go ahead. I'm
You all
ready.
right? Roses are red, violets are blue. If you support me, then I support you. That's spoken word. You want a spoken word? I give you spoken word. But no, have you ever been in love? Have you ever sat there and thought about this person all day to the point where you didn't even know where you was at? That was me. Nice while I sat in the back of this truck crying, trying to remember where did I fail at. It wasn't just me. It was her. It was her, and then it was me. No,
Hmm.
let me stop. That's in the next book. But anyway, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and it means a lot because we help each other when we do these things. It can be
Hmm.
about writing, it can be about mental health, it can be about relationships, it can be about anything. We have to sit down and have true conversations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if we don't have the conversation, we're never gonna come to the table with the strategy and the plan. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I thank you. I thank everybody who came on the show. People who couldn't come on the show, we're gonna push out the link so you can check out the show. And I just thank everybody for the opportunity. And go get these books, man. And it's not even about the money. It's about if you really want to sit down and you on the beach somewhere and you want to read some poetry, holler at me. I got something for you. I got stuff for all occasions. Trust me. I got birthdays, bar mitzvahs. I got everything you need. I got it. Nah, but that, no, yeah. Why not? Like because, like I say, people get on TV shows, podcasts, and everything, and they got to say the most politically. No, we're having fun with life. Life's supposed to be fun. Our accomplishments supposed to be fun and therapeutic, and I should be able to inspire somebody. Somebody should be able to inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel like let's have some fun. I told you before we got on the show, I'm gonna have some fun.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Man,
I thank everybody.
well, you are so welcome. I have really enjoyed you. Now, since you said that, I'm going to put you on the spot. I need you to come back on my show so that we can do a discussion about mental health. We can still pull in the poetry aspect, but I want to talk about that a little bit more because we did kind of talk about that today. But again, I think that's our connection. And I think that you would be good to have a discussion with about that. So can I have you come back on the show soon?
Let's get it.
Okay, so y'all heard
And
it. Right?
I promise I will have a real poem to recite when I come on the show about mental health.
Okay, all right, bet.
Because I'm writing it right now. I'm writing it right now. I'm literally writing it right now in my head. I'm not lying
Okay,
to you. I will have the poem for you on the next show. Just let me know when you're ready.
okay. We're gonna do this thing, y'all. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I love it. And the poem that you just recited for us was nice too. Thank you
Hey,
for
you said you want a
sharing
spoken
that.
word.
Oh man, this has been great. Oh, thank you so much for taking time out. And I know you're a busy man, you're a working man. And I just thank you for taking y'all see where he work, okay? All right. So he just wanted y'all to know that. But thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. I sure
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you. I
Mr.
appreciate you.
Gibbons. All right, I'm gonna put you in the waiting room, but don't go anywhere if you can hold on, okay?
Okay.
Um, Guys, thank you all so much for joining me on today. I mean, I appreciate you guys coming in, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us and listening to Mr. Gibbons. And didn't y'all enjoy that? I enjoyed it myself as the host. So I'm sure you did. So go ahead. You can continue to tag individuals in, let them know that they can listen to this young man. Somebody said, good job. Thank you. Yeah, I agree over here on Instagram. It was an awesome job. And I thank you all so much. Let me go ahead and play my outro so that you guys will be able to see what we're doing. We're back here on next week, 12 noon Central Standard Time, for another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. You do not want to miss this. I just want to ask you, are you a product of your environment? Take a listen. On the next session of Get Caught in a Net, Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, 12 noon Central Standard Time, Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette Inspirational Spotlight, featuring Dr. Victoria Hooker. Are you a product of your environment? What did your environment produce? Stay tuned.